Come with me on a trip to Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. We are taking a day trip to Gettysburg, Pennsylvania on this beautiful fall day. You might be asking, why Gettysburg? And my answer to that is why not? Every day is an opportunity for something good. Gettysburg out there and explore the world around you. I'm on a mission to do as much as I can so I can discover more and understand more. Now let's get going. We made a quick stop into the visitor center to get some information, and from there we joined a free tour group set to leave soon. If you like this kind of content, then like and subscribe to join as we explore the world around us. Our tour guide was going to be this park
Yeah,
ranger
so
who
the
clearly
first
had a
day
passion for
we'll
Gettysburg.
just discuss it in brief because we don't want to keep you sitting down on these cold benches. We want to get the blood flowing. We'll get up on Cemetery Ridge, but
That passion should have been our first red flag. For 40 minutes we sat and listened to our guide yammer on about military numbers and tactics. It was interesting. The day wasn't really warm and there was a persistent wind that made this history lecture almost unbearable. When nearly all hope was lost, we finally got up and began the tour. It wasn't supposed to be a long tour, but it would stop and go. An hour in, and we had barely made it to the battlefield. Group after group peels away. It had been the entire estimated time of the tour, and it was nowhere near wrapping up. Regan and I made the decision ourselves to leave the tour. It felt rude, but it was the proper thing for us to do, as we only had a few hours to explore. The battlefield had been preserved in much the same way that it had way back in 1863, through the work of the National Park Service. It had a rustic charm quite different from what it would have looked like those sweltering days in July, though much of the battlefield acreage still lies outside of the park's ability to preserve. As with the case with many historical locations across the globe, private interests seeking development put the future preservation of historic Gettysburg at risk.
We're just in a tour. I said it was going to be an hour and a half and it ended up being 2 hours, and that was pretty much our entire day at Gettysburg. Woot woot! Woot woot! JK, we got plenty to see.
Even though the tour didn't go as planned, we didn't let that get us down. We made a quick stop in the museum and looked at some exhibits. That was a preserved piece of wood from the actual battle, and you can see bullets in the wood, which is pretty interesting. There was a big crowd around the guns, but no one really cared about the musical instruments, which I thought was very telling of something. There's this great little diorama. Museums are typically great places to see a diorama. After our long extended tour, we decided to go on the auto tour. Originally, we had planned on riding our bikes around, but unbeknownst to us, I had accidentally locked our bikes to the car. That's alright though, because we saw some reenactors, and they seemed pretty grumpy that we wanted to talk to them. It's probably just because there's war going on. Or maybe it's because of the hard biscuits they had to eat every single day. Either way, once we were out of the wind, it was a very pleasant day. The colors of fall were popping as we drove around. The thought of those hard biscuits had reminded Reagan that she was pretty hungry. At this point, she was done with the battlefield and wanted to find somewhere to eat. We had packed some sub sandwiches, and we were looking for a good place to have our little picnic. Sadly, there's not too many good picnic spots once you get onto the auto tour at Gettysburg. There is a very nice view of town from the top of a tower, but while the view was nice from the tower, it wasn't a good lunch spot. Too busy. So we continued to drive along, thinking we might never find a place to eat. But eventually, we just decided to eat in the car. We parked outside the Pennsylvania Monument, which is the tallest monument in Gettysburg, and we enjoyed our sub sandwiches. We again ran into some reenactors. They were demonstrating how a Civil War cannon would fire. The only reason we found these reenactors was because they did fire the cannon. The Pennsylvania Monument being so tall, it just meant that I had to climb to the very top. But because I climbed to the very top, that meant I missed the second cannon shot from the reenactors. All being said, the view from the top of the Pennsylvania Monument wasn't quite as good as the view from the top of the observation tower we were just on. After lunch, we both were feeling better and we decided to head into town. We made a quick stop at the cemetery to see where the Gettysburg Address happened. Invited by a local attorney, Abraham Lincoln addressed a crowd at the dedication of the National Cemetery. Though he wasn't the main speaker, Lincoln's short speech is infamous for its radical call to action. This short speech reframed the purpose of the war. The war would continue for almost 2 more years, claiming many more lives. The cemetery was a neatly manicured space, but it's a reminder of the terrible cost of war. of the so many lives cut short. Luckily, the civilian deaths at Gettysburg only equaled to 1. In other conflicts, even ones with the abilities to prevent it, civilian casualties can add up. War is an ugly thing, and we should do all we can to live peacefully. After spending all day on the battlefield, we finally made it to town. This was Reagan's favorite part of our trip, and we started it off with a visit to the David Willis House, the same David Willis who invited that President Abraham Lincoln to speak at Gettysburg. They had a neat little diorama of what Gettysburg would have looked like in 1863. David Willis basically said, "Hey, come say a few things. You can stay at my place." And that means that Abraham Lincoln was the first United States president to book an Airbnb. Pretty incredible stuff. We decided to head upstairs to see the room where Abraham Lincoln slept the night before the Gettysburg Address. Reagan loves antique furniture, so this room was right up her alley. But that's enough of the Gettysburg past. What about the Gettysburg present? We wanted to see what was going on. We were able to catch some live music, and we enjoyed a cider at a very cute spot called the Plowman Cider Tapper. We had planned to visit the college and see the art exhibit there, but it was closed sadly. We settled on looking at some paintings through a window instead. We also decided to check out some antiques. They had a bunch of stuff that was related to the Civil War, of course. And then we wanted to check out some of the fine art here in Gettysburg. In this store, I was yelled at for recording, but all the stuff was pretty kitschy. I did sneak that video of that whale, so that was worth it. Pretty rebellious. Again, we hit up another antique shop. We didn't end up buying anything from these shops because we don't need a sword. But it was interesting to look at the stuff that they had acquired over the years. Abraham Lincoln sure does have a chokehold on this town. And it's a great town to visit. There's probably more that we could have explored, but we don't have any more time. So join us next time as we explore the world around us. Thank you so much.